Hi everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe. And here we are. This is the update number 4 in a series of builds for builders for the Orca. This is the Bill Wieger model, all resin kit. And it's also a challenge build with my dear friend Wayne Green over at World of Wayne. So if you've just stumbled upon this video, and I know I sound like a broken record, go back to the very beginning and you'll understand what's going on. But very quickly, we each have the identical same model and we're building them on our channels, and we're going to see what results we get. The comments have been amazing. I want to thank everybody for all of your support. It's just been absolutely awesome, and I just couldn't be happier with the channel and with this build. But let me dive right in, because I don't want to repeat of the last one, an hour and 27. I apologize to a lot of people. That was just not cool. But I wanted to kind of just, show you a little bit of what I'm doing and why I do what I do. And hopefully it was interesting to some. I know for the experienced models it was like ho-hum. But for those who are just sort of thinking about these kinds of things, hopefully there was some takeaways there. But anyway, let me show you what I've been doing. And boy, is there a lot going on. Now, I've got to be real careful here, because everything you see, nothing is glued down, not a single thing. So if I breathe wrong and this collapses, I could damage something. So I'm going to be very careful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of deconstruct as we go, and then I'll show you some things on the extreme close-up camera, but we're still working. Now, basically, there's a coat of paint on everything. The colors are pretty correct. I'm pretty happy with the colors. The green itself, interestingly enough, when you hit it with a bright light or you put it in daylight, this green goes very white. So I think I'm pretty correct in the color. And from what I know from my research, I'm pretty correct. The red is a dull red. It's the Tamiya dull red. It's in the lacquer version. Now I have it in the spray form, and I also found it in the jars. Let me, I wasn't prepared, so I apologize, but let me pull it over so I can show you on the close-up. For those of you who are curious, here it is. This is the dull red, LP18, and I'm really happy with it. I think it's doing a terrific job. And then obviously I did all of my work on the wood surfaces, and on the interior of the cabin, what I've done is I've done my various different shades of browns, and I've done my graining technique, which I do with a brush, any kind of a stiff brittle brush. Here, this is the one I'm using, and you drag it across the surface, and it is a dry brushing technique. You want very little paint on the brush, but you get a really terrific result. But the frustrating thing is obviously to the eye up close, there's a lot more going on than there is on the camera, sadly, but it is what it is. The sky bridge up here is completely finished in terms of parts. I'm still working on details, and I'll show you a close-up of that in just a second. I've started to do some weathering. Looking at the film grabs, for those of you who didn't know, there were 3 filming boats. There was a boat they used for sinking, there was a boat they used for driving, and then there was a boat they used static for close-ups. And what's interesting about it is the whole thing is a figment of the production's imagination. Yes, it came, the sort of the rough carcass of this came from a fishing vessel known as the Warlock. But what the production team did to make this camera ready was pretty extraordinary. Examples would be these windows. They're overly sized windows. Nobody builds a boat with windows this size. No one. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense for all kinds of reasons. for weather reasons, it's not that practical. But if you want to get a camera inside it, it's very practical. So we know that's why they did what they did. The other thing that's really interesting is on one of the miniatures, there is a pipe, and I've sort of started to fashion that here. All I've done is taken a piece of 5mm tubing, and I've wrapped it in some fabric, and I'm starting to work on the aging process here. And what this is, curiously enough, is it sits inside on top of the rear side of the cabin. I'll show you that in a minute. Now, what Wayne and I think this was a drive shaft, which is supposed to connect up to the wheel on the sky bridge. We don't think that sky bridge was connected to anything in the filming. We're guessing, and if I'm wrong, you know, please leave me a note in the comments. I'd love to hear if you know any more than I do about this. But our suspicion is that the boat was always driven from the cabin, from inside the cabin downstairs, either by a crew member or somebody. You never really saw inside the cabin when the boat was moving. If you think about it, they were always out on deck. But whenever Hooper was driving the boat upstairs, we're very suspicious that the actors were actually driving this boat at all, and whether or not there was actually a drive shaft connected to it, we think it was faux, and just purely created. It's a proscenium, if you think of it, you know, in theater terms. So anyway, that was a lot of fun to kind of research. And then, of course, every frame grab of the interior is completely different. There is a depth sounder above the wheel downstairs in the wheelhouse that is completely covered or disappears in some scenes. And then there's all kinds of garbage and stuff that appears and disappears in various different scenes, which is perfectly fine. You know, I mean, it's a continuity thing, and it's only something you'd notice if you're actually watching this film the way we've been watching it, which is pretty hilarious. You're not looking at the performances, and you're not listening to the dialogue. You're just staring at everything that's going on in the background, and when you see something you're not sure, you frame grab. And that's what we've been doing. Still, obviously, the mast you've seen, and once the mast goes on and the pulpit goes on, I've got to build the railing for the pulpit. We should be good to go. The barrels are all ready to go here in front. I've got those. They're back here, and they've all been painted and distressed. Now, the way I did my distressing on these was kind of fun. You can see they start to work really well. So what I did was they got a coat of primer, a coat of flat black, a coat of bright orange, and then I dulled it down. And then what I've used is I've used my incredible AK interactive weathering pencils, which I picked up at Wonderfest. Here, I'll show you this. I don't know if well, that doesn't help you, does it? Here, this will help you. So here they are, and what I'll do is let me get this on the close-up because you can see what I've got here. So it starts with your black, your basic black, and it goes all the way through the color spectrum to copper. And there's your copper at the other end. Now, what these are, which is incredible, is they're pencils. They take the shape of pencils, but they're actually acrylic paint. And so you can either use them dry, or you can actually dip them in a little water and use them, depending on what effect you're trying to get. But it's just a beautiful thing. Here, I'll turn it to the camera here, and you can see it comes with a spectrum wheel and all your pencils. And I've been using those, and that's what I use to actually create the scratches. So I'm not using chipping effects and things of that nature. You certainly can. The other thing I've done too is I realized that this sort of covered crate in the front of the boat here, was in fact covered in a dark green tarp. So I've covered this in some athletic tape, and I've aged it appropriately, and I've put some tape around it, and so now that is pretty good to go. But curiously, once again, you know, this is one of those things where if you look at certain shots, these tarps were actually covering some red crates. So ideally, if you wanted to be super canon and super accurate, you would have some red crates, which I suppose we could make out of PLA. I may actually talk to Wayne about this and see if we can actually create some red crates and then put a piece of wooden block on top of that, and then recover them, and that would replace this if you wanted to see a piece of the red crate. Now, the only reason why I think that's interesting to me personally is because I love the detail of that. You know, it's like a nuanced detail, and it adds another color to the boat, and that's a lot of fun. In front here as well, I have, as you can see here, I have put some 0.50 strips of mahogany down because it was wood. This was wood. And there is supposed to be a raised piece on top of this. I haven't found it yet, although I did pick up myself a huge box here of balsa. So if I can find the strips in there, I will put them down. And I think what they were there for is to help you sort of slide these barrels off and on, because they were probably pretty bloody heavy, obviously. All of the various compartments here that you see have all been covered, the actual edges of them appropriately in copper tape, which I've cut down, and then I have, with a very, very sharp blade, I've created my little rivets all the way around. What I discovered was the rivet wheel I was talking about in my last update, I can't get those pins close enough together. Now, I understand there's many different versions of those daisy wheels on the market, and perhaps I could have found one, but I found it just as easy to use the tip of a very sharp knife, and that worked quite well. So I'm very happy with that. I'll continue to get these dulled down and aged. I'm starting to experiment with some aging techniques. This is one of them that I'm using. It is the Game Wash 73.200 sepia, and I've been using that, and that's working quite well. And what I've been doing with that is, with the soft end of a cotton swab, I have been dragging it down the green to start aging down the green paint. Anyway, so let me start to deconstruct this a little bit, just because I am worried about safety, and I do want to show you these pieces. So here is the, I wonder if you can see this better on this camera. Yeah, that's pretty good. So there's the front of the Orca with his jaws. I don't know if you can see this. I'll actually show you on the extreme close-up, but in a frame grab from the film, there's two white sort of slashes in there. I think it's bird poop. I don't know what it is, but they're in the black circle, so I've put them in. And as you can see, I'm starting to age this down. As I turn it around, you can see that I have now put in I've painted and aged the life vests, and I've got Orca written on them, and they've aged down. I've used a brass lantern. I've replaced the lantern that was part of the resin build. I cut that out, and I've replaced it with a brass lantern. And Wayne, if you're watching, there's a pair on their way to you. So expect those in the next week or so. I can't help how fast they get there, but yours are coming. And I am desperately looking for a foghorn. The foghorn that you can see, and I'll put this on the close-up camera here because I think it's worth it. This foghorn here is in its resin, and there. Am I getting a difficult time getting this camera to focus? I think I might be, but I'm not sure. So this is not very good. It's just not, and so I'm having difficulties with that, and I'm sourcing a new one. Here is the inside of the cabin. I've yet to dull down the steering column, but I will do that. I've been aging it, as you can see. All my gauges and dials are in, thanks to the awesome Jeff Fink. He's the best and a dear friend, and I really appreciate him for helping me out. So I've got all my dials in. Oh, and I don't know if you can see it, but I'm kind of proud of this. So what I did was, I actually used, probably can't see this very well, but I'm pointing to it here, the compass. So the compass was just, it was just a fiddly piece of resin, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. So what I did do with it was I painted it flat black. I managed with a zero brush to dab on the markings around it, and then what I did was I gave it a good coating of microcrystal clear and let it a big sort of blob of it, and I left it to dry for a couple of days, and the result was absolutely brilliant. So I'm really happy with that. So, and all the gauges, of course, have gotten a coat of the microcrystal clear on them. So I'm super happy with that. Now, you can see here on, sorry about that, this is giving me some fits and starts, because the aging process is really kind of wacky. It's got some bird poop on it. It's got these weird little specks of I don't know if they were supposed to be bird poop or whether they were supposed to be drops or drips or something. There's all of these faded areas that you can see here where I guess feet have just sort of worn away the paint. You've got these other markings. Ignore these two because these are just the pegs for the Skybridge Command Center. And you know, it's sort of like I'm constantly aging it. I'm still working on it. I've not actually hit it with any matte yet. I've put, you can see here in these corners, 2 loops, and these are correct for rigging. They're going to go up to the mast. And I've been using my copper tape to put down on the imprints in the resin that are supposed to be your you know, your various different metal plates, and that copper tape is working really well. I'm cutting it, I'm putting it over the piece and giving it a really, you know, soft rub down with a Q-tip and then a burring tool. I've been using a what have I been using? Where is it? Of course I can't find it. Why should I be able to find it? It's a little burring tool that you use for laying down decals, and I've been using that with some pretty good effect. So I'm happy with that. And so, and then of course I was trying to figure out how to stain these windows and make them look aged up enough and mucky and dirty, but obviously I've cleaned them so that you can see in there. And so I've been working on that. But what you don't see, and I will, let me get rid of the door here because I don't want to break my door, but I'll show you this on close-up because it's fun. So here's the door I've been working on. This originally had like a little resin nub, and I took it off with my handy dandy chisel, number 17 chisel, scraped it off, and then I've replaced it with a handle that I fashioned out of some wire and some copper tape, and I think that worked really well. And I've put the knob, the brown knob, on the back, and I've noticed that there are several handle changes in the different boats as well. So you can pick your poison in terms of which one you think is canon. The other thing I've done is everything has gotten a coat of the orange clear from Tamiya, and that has really done a fantastic job of selling the idea of you know, all the wood surfaces actually getting a varnish, you know, the teak surfaces getting a varnish. So I'm really happy with that. Everything's been glazed and appropriately chipped and aged so that none of the glass looks perfect. So I've done that. And what I'm loving about this kit is that since everything has to be chipped and aged, you know, it's like I just go to town. It's not like you have to have something that looks clean and perfect. And that's always a challenge for me. Make something dirty and mess it up. Oh, I'm in heaven. So my door is ready to go, and that will be permanently glued to the front open, in the open position. Now there are some scenes in which a rope was attached to it and dangled over to some kind of a tie-off. I may do that or not. Again, you know, a lot of it really depends on what moment in the film you're trying to portray, I should say. You know, have they confronted the shark? Are they in full-blown fight mode with the shark? Have they just left port? What are you trying to convey? And I think the truth is it's kind of a combination of everything. You know, I'm going to have enough activity going on that you can look around and it's almost like wherever you look on the model, there's a different moment in time for a scene. It's like, oh yeah, that's the bit when that happened, or oh my God, look at the blood, you know, on the rear, and look at the chum buckets. You know, I've got great chum buckets. I can show you a chum bucket here in just a second. I'm just going to put this safely over here so that I don't damage that. I will pull over a chum bucket because they are great fun. Here's a chum bucket. And what I've done is I have painted this with the Citadel red. I hit a lot of the various different components inside with the with different greens and things of that nature, and what that's going to do is that's actually going to it's going to sit on this side of the boat. Here there's actually some standoffs, some pegs for it. I'm not sure if I can't get them in yet, so I'm not going to try. There. So that's where it lives. And so there's going to be 3 of those, obviously, sitting in their position, and that's going to, I think, work an absolute charm. So I'm pretty happy with that. What you're looking at on the deck here is my hammock. So I'll show you my hammock. Here's my hammock that I've created, and I put some clothes in it, which is canon, and then that will be bent up like that and hung from the ceiling in the kitchen area. So let me gingerly take off this roof here and be very careful. I'm removing the rear here. Now everything is so delicate, guys, that literally I have to be so careful now that if anything I touch, I stand the risk of breaking or snapping. And at a certain point, you know, you're going to have to sort of close this thing up, so I have to be very careful. Now, what I've done is, let me show you the interior of this. So it just about fits on. Everything's been painted, and it's got its coat of the orange clear on it. Thanks to the great Jeff Fink, I've got this perfectly accurate, screen accurate now medical supply box. You can't see it, but this barometer actually has a dial on it, and it's pretty good. So that is all screen accurate. I've appropriately aged the window. This, I've been told by a subscriber, thank you, was actually a vent that slid open to let air into the cabin. That makes perfect sense. There is a line on it, but there's no handle on it, and I can't see one on camera. It just looks like, to me, it just looks like a piece of wooden. It just looks like 3/4 inch plywood. So I don't know, but I'm told that it was in fact a vent. So I'm going to go with that, and I believe it. I have glazed the this window here. Sorry about that. There. This has been glazed, and I did that with some clear styrene that I have, some clear that is. It comes with a protective film on both sides, and I love this stuff because you can play with it and cut it into various different shapes and sizes, and you're not going to mess with it. And then I was able to luckily cut it with a pair of scissors, and it fit in perfectly. So that's glazed, and I'm just super happy with that. Now we're actually inside the boat here, so this is kind of fun. This is a piece of tape on the floor, because the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be doing a little more weathering on the floor, but not too much. I'm probably also going to put some black washes in here just to pull out the teak lines. You know, in boats, you've got this sort of black gunge between the teak strips, and that was kind of like a caulking. It was a waterproof caulking. So I'm going to put some black wash into that. And then I'm going to obviously cover the frame of the panel with the brass as I'm supposed to, and I'll be doing that on the exterior as well. I have the cooker all finished. Right here I have added these little metal protectors, wind protectors I think they are, or flame protectors, I'm not sure what they are, but they didn't come with the kit. I fashioned those out of a little piece of tin. The kettle is obviously on there. Nothing is glued down here at the moment. There's a couple of bottles that came with the kit here. I am getting a file for more bottles, some clear bottles that I can add some variety of bottles and cans. I don't have enough bottles and cans. Sadly, my beer cans, even the smaller ones, are just too large. They're the wrong scale. So I'm going to try and make my own. I'm going to see if I can get make some beer cans. I don't know. I've never done it before, but it'll be fun. And then going along here, here's the radio. What I haven't done is added the mic cord that goes from the radio to the handset, which is appropriately stuck to the window. And then over here is the inside driving console with the steering column. And again, I've been playing, you know, I've been scrumping up little pieces of paper to add some trash. Here, I'll drag this over here so you can see it a little better there. I've been playing with trash because it needs to be gunked up. I've got maps and newspapers and crap, some old tools. There's a lot of stuff that needs to go in here before we say bye-bye. Over here, you can see on this side is the water, the sort of the jug of water, the cooler, books, and the toolbox are all here. There is a barometer here, and there are two here that need to get dials. I've not done that yet. The pipe that I talked about belongs, I believe, right here. Gotta be really careful here. There. It belongs like that. And there's a couple of shots in the film where you're looking in this way and you see it. You see it when he comes out from the lower back part of the boat as well. So it's there. And as I said, Wayne and I have talked about it, and we think it's covering the steering link that is supposed to go upstairs to the sky bridge. Now that's pure supposition on our part. If we're wrong, guys, please tell us, but we don't know what else it is. If it was supposed to be a vent for another vent for the engine, you know, as opposed to this one out here, then it doesn't go anywhere. So, and they certainly wouldn't be letting out, you know, carbon dioxide or monoxide or fumes into the cabin. And it doesn't go up into the sky bridge. There's absolutely no shots at all in the film where you see any kind of a pipe at all up there. So it's a big curiosity to us, but again, we think it's the steering link that connects the downstairs. It's supposed to connect my hand's in the way. It's supposed to connect this steering wheel to the one up on the sky bridge. And then, of course, the table and the banquette are in, and we've talked about those ad nauseum. So things that are missing. Well, I need to source some a machete or try to build a machete, which I'm going to do. I need to fashion some clubs, little baseball bats, which I believe were, you know, they were actually kept here under the deck, and on some kind of a hook. You know, there were two of them, and so I've got to fashion a couple of those. Obviously, I've got all of Hooper's junk, his shark cage, his oxygen tanks, his ballast tanks that go behind the ladder. All of that is in various forms of paint right now, so I'm working on those. I've got to get some Chum Markers made. Those were the little, they were little, they looked like, they were probably about 4 feet long, and they were like dowel or pieces of rod, and they were connected to what looked like chunks of styrene, and they had yellow flags on them. I suspect crudely made by Quint, right? And so there's a few of those that appear in the corner right here. Obviously, you know, that's all got to be shoved in the corner. And there's some ropes and some other things that I'm going to also have to learn how to fold up correctly and lay. You know, lay on. Exterior here, there are 4 rods. I've got the reels to them. I have to make the rods. And they were parked over here. There's a barrel, and there's a couple of pieces of equipment that live here. That's the barrel that we think got moved inside to the back side of the banquette that Chief Brody sits on. The banquette didn't come around all the way in the back. We think he was sitting on this thing, and then at some point in the film it's moved outside and it's got some equipment stacked on it. Why they did that, I don't know, but that's where it ended up, and it is in several of the frame grabs, so we will have it there. And so I've got to finish painting that. My light is ready to go, and that is here. Here's my light, and you can see this is the one that I printed. I 3D printed. There were a couple of versions of this. I picked the smaller version. This is the 20 millimeter as opposed to the 28 millimeter. I just thought from a scale perspective it was too big. It's got some porcelain paint on the outside, and I've painted the wire appropriately black, and so this has a 5 millimeter bulb in it, and it is going to hang over the banquette like so, something like that. So it is in frame, and it'll be attached to the ceiling, and then that's where the sort of the story ends for now, because I have not decided where I'm going to put the battery casing. One solution is to put it in, there's a box that appears on the sky bridge, and we don't know what was in this box, whether it was life jackets or whatever, but at one point it's actually pushed over to the mast. thinking, well, you know, I mean, Hooper never climbed it. Brody does, but Quint is the only one who climbs it during the regular, obviously, storytelling. And I don't think, you know, he was pretty tall, Robert Shaw. I don't think he needed that box, but whether someone else was standing on that box, but it kept moving around. But I've got to make the box, and so we'll put that in as well. There are some hooks. There were 4 hooks, if you recall. One of them is pulled out once they realize they're dealing with a 25-footer and all hell breaks loose. They're running around, and Quint pulls one of these hooks and throws it on top of the roof of the sky bridge. There are 3 of those, and we have those hooks, and we'll attach ropes to those. Those go on the outside. There are the long prodders. You know, there's a hook for, I guess, pulling in ropes, and then there are some spears for jabbing that live up on the sky bridge as well. So there's lots of little details that we're honing in on. But I wanted to share this update with you. Oh, let me just stick this up here so that you can see. It starts to look like you can see. And one of the big challenges is going to be for the what I'm calling the Widow's Walk, or the pulpit, is I've actually got to build the rails for it and wrap those. And I think once those are in and the rigging is in, the mast is on and everything is on, I mean, it's going to really look like the Orca. And so the one thing that I haven't talked about, and we're going to do that in the next update, is the rear. The sign of the Orca, the back of the boat. It's still black. It's not in the red, and the reason for that is because it's a different color than the rest of the boat. Depending on which boat you're looking at, it appears to be in the browns. It's wood, obviously, very heavily stained, and the Orca sign appears to be metal, and so we'll make it look like metal, unless I can find some clever way. I actually talked to Wayne about this. I have not. Whether or not he can laser cut the actual sign in tin for us, and so that we can overlay it. That would be really cool. And then all the rigging goes on. So I would say we're probably, in terms of building, there'll probably be one more update after this. And then I should be pretty dangerously close to getting there. Now, having said that, I got an awful lot of detail work to do, washes and chipping and painting, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like, when is enough enough? You could just keep going, and so I will keep going until I feel like I just can't do anymore, or I've ruined it. You know, you've gone too far and you have to pull it back. But I'll just keep going while I'm having fun. And I gotta tell you, wow, words cannot describe how awesome this is. And so still a lot to do, but you can see it's really coming together, and I'm thrilled everybody's on this journey with me. So once again, thank everybody out there in the universe for supporting my channel and me. It means an awful lot to me. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And so until we meet again, Wally Pasternak, if you're out there, I hope you're getting better, man. And as always, a big shout out to Jeff Fink, and of course my dear friend Wayne Green. And say hello to Lou. Why not? Hey Lou! I don't know. But anyway, until next time, I wish everybody be well, be safe, build something, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.